What's going on, guys? Jay Curtis Strickland here, and you are now watching Tea and Fuckery. Before we get started, you could do me a favor and click on that subscribe button, click on the little bell for notifications, like this video, comment on this video, share this video. Today, we have Mr. Adam Schulte. Adam Schulte is a stand-up comedian, a booker, and a producer in Greenville, South Carolina, and a longtime friend of mine. Mr. Adam, what's up, dude?
I am good. I am still recovering from Furnace Fest. I went there with all intents of coming home safe at 41, and I came back with a cold and sinus infection that's left me in the bed most of this week.
Oh, shit. Well, at least you didn't have COVID or a fucking broken bone or something like that.
No. And to make sure I didn't get COVID, the wife brought home some home tests, and I was good on both of them. So I was like, "Yeah, this is just allergies and sinus, just normal, just normal." I'm
I
good.
hear you. Who were the highlights?
Let's see. Friday, seeing Caven play all Caven songs across their catalog. That was a big one. Every Time I Die was a lot of fun. With Honor was a lot of fun. Seeing Converge, Walls of Jericho. Saturday, Stretch Armstrong, Shai-Hulud, Glassjaw, Bludgeon, Hopes Fall, Comeback Kid. Or was Comeback Kid Sunday? I don't remember. And Sunday, Turnstile, Knock Loose. Whatever day Comeback Kid played. Be Well was a big one for me. It was just a fun time. Like, it was just a big fun time. I enjoyed all of it.
Nice. What's the funniest story you got from Furnace Fest?
So I have this fear of pooping in porta potties. It's not some weird. It come from a weird place. It came. I used to work construction in college, so all they had when you're at these sites are these porta potties, and if you're right off the Mon River, which is in Morgantown, West Virginia, when I went to WVU, by 11 o'clock in the summertime, it's 1,000,000 degrees of oppressive heat, and then you go inside a little box made of plastic that's not well ventilated that has poop in it. And then, because all that earth's moving around, not only have to deal with that, and you're sweating to death, and you're trying to poop and get back to work. Spiders. I hate
Uh,
spiders.
you
So
hate
every point,
spiders?
yeah, terrified. Probably one of my biggest fears. So
So
like,
arachnophobia must scare the shit out of you when you watch that.
won't watch it. Won't watch. Watched it one time.
That
Never
was
again.
enough, huh?
Yeah.
I watched Fossbenders in a year of 13 moons, and there's this huge like scene where it's like cattle slaughter, and me being a vegan, I was like, for
Oh,
it goes on for like a few minutes, and it's real, and I was like, fuck this, and I never like I love Fossbender as a director, I just couldn't do it again. But spiders, shit,
yeah.
dude. Well, okay, so
Terrified.
were you one of those students? I get the porta potty thing, but were you ever one of those students that couldn't like shit at school?
No, 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 no. I listen. I would steal toilet paper as often as humanly possible from facilities because I was like, it's expensive. I'm a college student. If I'm going to poop here, yeah, I've already paid tuition. This is my logic. I can take a couple rolls of toilet paper a semester.
Hell yeah.
It better than the Kroger brand that we had. So I was like, oh, my butthole's not going to bleed today. It'd be a better. I was.
That's it's never a good time when that happens.
Yeah.
Dude,
Buddy butthole.
there were kids that I went to high school with that would be like, okay, it's like third period, but I gotta hold it until I get home. I'm like, fuck, are you Janet Jackson or something? Like,
Weird,
like
weird.
I don't want to give myself like the stomach bumblings. Like, I'll just go, man. Just take all that expensive toilet paper and just put it on the toilet seat and just fucking drop deuce and just be done. Like,
Like
don't put
so.
yourself through all that unnecessary suffering.
No, and like even to this day, like when we go out of town for a little bit and there's like nothing around, I'll pull. I carry rolls of toilet paper for this specific reason. I don't care if people get mad at me. It's only happened twice in my 41 years on this planet. But I will pull over to as secluded as a place as possible, squat, poop wherever I'm at, and clean up. Like I don't like unless spiders are involved, I'm gonna be okay. If no spiders are around, I'll poop in a GameStop just because I have to go if I need to, or out of spite. It doesn't matter. But I have those options. So other than spiders, I'll poop wherever, man. You got to get it out. Get the evil out of you. It's the only
There
way
you
to
go,
live.
man. Yeah. Like I just never understood that being in high school. I was like, I'll fucking shit wherever. I don't care. I'll fucking shit in this desk. I give no shits except in this desk, you know.
No,
So,
and careful.
so tell us what's going on with the comedy.
Greenville comedy. It's amazingly made it out the other end of the pandemic. I'd say 2/3 of the comics that were active beforehand are still doing it, and we even had a larger group or like a new class of comics come out of the pandemic. It's like starting out, so they're hitting their first like year and a couple months. Some people are hitting their 6 months, and it's nice to see it happen. And there's a lot of different types of comedy, a lot of different perspectives that you can like hear from each of the performers, which I think is good. Um, it's almost like this is not the best way to put it, but do you remember in the 90s? Only 90s kids will remember, but do you remember in the 90s where like alt comedy kind of overtook the traditional late night 80s super high kind of comedy? How that was
Sure.
that. It's been a lot of that, and a lot of it, at least where I'm at, is not super preachy.
Now,
Which
when you say alt comedy, describe that for people who might not know, or give some examples of alt
uh,
stand-up comedians.
Patton Oswalt, Janine Garofalo, anyone that really Jim Brewer to some extent, anyone that like came out of that 90s crop of comics that would like how they kind of overtook things and made it I don't want to say more accessible, but more varied, and there was more forms of artistic expression uh, because of that switchover, which I think is what's happening now. And just like when that happened, it's not super preachy. Um, Other people may disagree with like bigger names, but as far as like on a local level, it's not preachy, and you're getting more perspective, which I think is actually a really good thing.
Sure. I mean, some guys could kind of preach and get away with it, like Carlin or Bill Hicks, you know. And I mean, even Chris Rock is kind of preachy. Like, I almost feel like comedians are almost therapists in that they're giving you this really sage-like information, but they're wrapping it up in comedy.
Yeah, no, that's and one thing like most of these comics that are starting out, as far as like the change I'm talking about, they're much younger than like a Carlin or a Chris Rock um, or a Bill Burr. They're much younger, and that's probably like the biggest thing because like we talk about like the sage wisdom. I'm 41 years old. I'm not going to take advice from someone who's in their 20s. Like even when I was in my 20s, like I'm not listening to someone in their 20s. Like they all sound like dumb dicks. Uh, just like when I was a teenager, I didn't listen to someone in my 20s. Like my cutoff age was like 37. It seems like a good age. They might know some shit, but like if you don't have long-term life experience, not just life experience, but long-term life experience to kind of see change and kind of give a perspective with that, like you're just kind of screaming into a void. There's no you're just being loud for loud's sake. And you may
Right.
have the intentions, you may have good ideas behind it, but what ends up happening is you just sound like an asshole. You do. And I've been guilty of it. So now where I'm at artistically is I'm trying to really go back and instead of like pointing out social ills or try to be fucking political or really anything that's like an opinion you can pull off a Facebook post. I'd rather go inward and talk more about me, how I've changed, but also like I'm a narcissist because I'm a comic. So of course I want to talk about me. I know me better than anything else. So
And, you know, at least you admit it because, like, some people are like, with the whole actor situation, they're like, "Oh, I'm not narcissistic." I'm like, "Really? You're fucking selling yourself. Look at this shit. Look at it. Are you kidding me? Of course I'm narcissistic. You know, I'm my own business. I'm selling myself. I have no problem talking about myself. You know, so I commend that level of not giving a fuckery. You know,
thank you. It's part of it's like I'm just as I become more self-actualized, I'm more self-aware. Um, I can look back at who I was like 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 years ago and go, huh, there were some bright spots, a lot of bad spots. Let's see how to avoid those pitfalls now. And like it's been the emotional catharsis of getting on stage and telling jokes has been a decent part of that. It's let me get rid of a lot of my verbal anger. So I'm not playing Call of Duty and screaming at 12-year-olds online anymore. I'm getting on stage and pointing out absurdities and like dark thoughts that I have.
I wasted many an hour screaming at people in the chat room of Call of Duty.
there, no one would survive that. The kids today would not survive that. They're fucking soft.
Oh, I need a safe space. This is the safe space, bitch. It's the fucking chat room.
You know how you get a safe space from Call of Duty? Just play something else.
Turn it off?
Yeah. Turn it off.
Yeah. No, and I mean, you saying you talk about yourself. I don't think that from a stand-up comedian's perspective, that's inherently narcissistic. I think that it's more, you're giving your life experiences and saying, hey, maybe someone else will relate to this. And then when you get down like the self-deprecation route, you're like, okay, I'm not so pompous and egotistic that I can, go without making fun of myself, So, I mean, I don't know. Narcissism, I'm sure there's a small level of it. At the same time, you're just making it palatable for your audience, You're trying to connect with them.
Yeah, and I think like where the narcissism can overtake the performance aspect or the material aspect is still recovering from sickness. I'm all doped up on like Mucinex, cold pills, ibuprofen. I had like 2 bananas. Like I am all health doped up right now.
Claritin.
Yeah, dude, I took that this morning. I got my afternoon dose ready to go. I should get a Target and buy a pill thing so I know what to take.
And then you can cook meth.
No.
Or Special K, what is it?
No, here's why I'm not allowed to cook anything in the house. Because I turned on a burner and I left a pot holder on it and almost burned the kitchen down. So I'm not allowed to cook anything unless it's the microwave.
No.
Yeah.
Well, at least you got somebody to help you out with that, right?
Yeah. I can prepare stuff, but I'm not allowed to cook a damn thing. It's pretty awesome.
That'd be a great exchange for me. If somebody would just cook me shit the rest of my life, I'd be like, go ahead. I will never touch that oven ever again.
Yeah, I
Pop-Tarts and Hot Pockets all day long.
Vegan versions.
They do have them.
I know. Some of them are pretty good. What was I talking about? I was going to be profound and smart, and then I went on a tangent about why I can't cook or not allowed to use the oven.
Well, we were talking about inner narcissism and...
Oh, okay. So I think most comics at a certain point in their career or as they develop as people, that self-awareness puts in their head, like, I know how good I'm not. And they understand that. Like, they may not be the be-all, end-all for whatever realm of performance art and comedy they're going for. They go, I may never be that. But the difference is they may never be there, but they'll keep striving for it. Whereas people that are purposefully narcissistic don't have that self-awareness. And they will always talk about how good they are when they are fucking terrible. So like, I think that was the point I was trying to make. There were more words, but I think I summed it up pretty good. I hope.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. And I mean, I think as with anything, you have to have a certain level of inherent confidence, but I mean, there's a difference between confidence, cockiness, and just unchecked bravado, to where, some people can get away with it. Some people are so good and can be so, egotistic and like, I'm the fucking shit. And they're great at what they do. And that's validated. That level of narcissism is completely warranted. But I mean, generally it's just from people who are incredibly insecure and, they use that as kind of a smokescreen for their own, failures and not being as good as they would say they are.
Yeah. And one of the things about the arrogant side of what you were talking about is I've noticed over the last couple of years that confidence and cockiness, not bravado, but confidence and cockiness, it used to be a very big gray dividing line. Now that line is so razor thin that like the wrong hand gesture, the wrong way you nod your head can be totally it can be totally misappropriated in what you were trying to do. It's all of a sudden like, oh, they're a cocky prick. Like, no, sometimes they're just trying to be charming and fail miserably. There's a big god, and like, if someone's constantly not cocky and they're always confident and they have that one thing, all of a sudden you're telling me like now they're an asshole? Get the fuck out of here. Like, what, you have brain damage. You're looking to tear people down, and you can suck me from the back if you think you're going to fucking affect me by doing that. Punch your goddamn face. I'm not afraid to actually hit another human being. I don't need to type on the internet. I can just confront you in real life.
You've been doing a lot of Muay Thai then, yeah?
Yes, that's like the worst representation of martial arts. Right,
I was going to say, this is probably an appropriate segue, but, but like, fuck you up, bitch.
But like, the thing is, like, I do that for like physical reasons. I've lost a ton of weight from it. It brings me a lot of peace. Like, I coach people. I help people like that where I was. I'm not now. I can help guide them into like, look, this is not going to be easy, but this is what it's done for me. And I can always push the positives. I haven't had any real negative, except like I'm 41. I started late, so I hurt more. That's the only negative I can really have from it. But I think because like I get on stage, that helped with the confidence into going into something extremely difficult physically. So it kind of pushed. It took me like 6 months before I went for the first time, but it pushed me there because I was like, I'm not happy with who I am physically. Comedically and artistically, I'm getting there, but I'm lacking this other part so far. I need to level up so I can be a more functioning human being. And it's been a big deal for me. So I really, it's just helped out so much. But I think on the other end of it is like, you're always going to have people that are going to look at you like you're doing this to be a tough guy, to be a bully, to like prove a point or come at me, bro. Like, you're going to always have people that are going to have that perception of you. And if you never carry yourself like that, you probably will dodge the vast majority of it. But there's going to be a time where the cats are fighting. We have totally normal.
Hopefully they'll make a cameo.
Lola was up here earlier. I'm sure one of them will come back up. But eventually you're going to have to be that person to step up and be like confrontational with someone. Like, that's just the way it is. The old adage of talk shit, get hit is very real. Like, I don't get how people can find it to be acceptable to run your mouth and say terrible things. The vast majority are untrue about people. They're doing it to tear people down, get them in trouble, lose their jobs, cancel them. I want to point this out. There's only one way you can cancel me, and that's if you put a gun to the back of my head and pull the trigger. Like, then I'm canceled from life. I'm not a television show. You can't cancel me.
Well, I would also add that there's another way that you can cancel you, and that's if you cancel you, because I think that people, this whole cancellation thing, while I think that the whole culture of it has gone vastly too far, some people are just so like scared that they're that their career is going to be over or whatever. And that's when it's like, you really just got to put your foot down and be like, no, fuck you. Like, I said what I said. I mean what I said, or I said what I said as a joke. Like, you need to take it as such, but don't, like, I've always said, don't bow to the mob. Like, don't fold for the mob.
I no, actually, so you're talking about like extreme self-censorship and not trying, right?
Yeah. Or, people are like, oh, I'm getting bombarded on Twitter by all these people. And it's like, fuck them. Who cares?
Like, first of all, like Twitter, like, God, not real. I don't know why you're paying attention to this sort of stuff. The people that would rather talk online, they're not the kind of people that are going to go outside and touch grass on a regular basis, much less go to anything like a comedy show or a live music performance or have fun. I think a lot of those folks, for whatever reason, and this is where it can get real heady. It's like mental health problems or whatever. We don't know why they're like that. Normal functioning brains don't think that way. But as far as like self-censoring, if you're not going to take risk in general in life, you're not going to be extraordinary in anything. I'm not telling you to like, start a cult or anything, but like, have avocado toast. Like, start small and build yourself up. You can take risks. Get on stage and tell jokes and eat shit. Who cares?
Yeah.
Um, try skateboarding at 50. You might break something, but if you got an HSA card, you're good to go. Who cares? You have to try things. And like the mob mentality, it's now been broken down into so many facets of extremes on it's no longer sides, it's a circle. It's a circle of extremes. It used to be sides. It was way more you can navigate it way more. But now that it's a big circle, it's you you feel like there's nothing you can do without bullshit criticism for having the slightest difference of opinion on something. And that's stressful. Like no one should need that. And no one should have to worry about the wrath of the internet that has no real reason to connect with you unless like you're like a big public figure or something like that.
Well, I think when there's like financial repercussions and, you know, your job is being threatened or your family or your safety is being threatened, I think that's something to take seriously. And I think that's definitely when the internet becomes real. You know, I absolutely think that things of that nature should be prosecuted criminally, you know, because that's
Oh,
go ahead.
oh no, I agree. Like it's one thing like so if you get fired from a job or something you posted on MySpace like 20 years ago, right? Like, if you think I'm that same person and haven't changed at like 32 or whatever, like, why are you bowing to this fake mob that doesn't care about you? You're just trying to get someone in trouble.
Right.
I think the minute you like legit, there's a difference between absurd threats. You're like, okay, this guy's just being a dickhead and blowing off steam, versus like real threats. You know what I mean? Um, when you get real threats from something like the internet, yeah, I think there needs to be a court case, because the minute something like if someone threatened my wife or me and they came to my house to do either of us harm, I'm going to defend my family. You know what I mean? I'm going to defend them by any means necessary. I don't think that's an extremist position. I think it's a very normal position to have. If you cause me to lose money and lose health insurance because of something I said, again on MySpace 20 years ago, what have you accomplished? Like, how low of a person are you to think you've done something for the betterment of humanity, and you haven't even given someone the potential to grow from where they were to where they are now? Like that boggles my mind. Like, everyone loves a comeback story. Well, why can't I be a piece of shit when I'm 13, but then at like 35, I'm doing a lot of good stuff for a lot of people? Like, you can't, not giving that option or seeing everything in the change and just being like cherry picking the absolute worst moments of someone's life. And there are differences in worst moments of someone's life. Okay. Don't anyone
God,
get,
if they cherry pick the worst aspects of my life, they've had a whole fucking orchard. Like, because I've done and said some stupid shit before, you know, and I'm still probably even presently doing it, you know, but like you said, as far as mental health is concerned, I think a lot of those people are really hurting, and they've got like a void in their life, and they feel like they need to like either bring you down to their level or make you suffer with them. That's why I always had like girlfriends that were like, not always, but sometimes would have girlfriends that were like super depressed, and like I'm like, I don't want to live in this space with you. I don't want to exist in this with this whole dynamic with you. Like, you can be fucking angry and I had a girl that was like super gothy, and she just felt like she was obligated to be like angry and pissed off all the time, and I'm like, this fucking sucks, like, why?
one of the biggest blows. I know we're jumping back and forth between topics. Thank God I at least have things to talk about. I'm proud of that. I took notes in the room. One thing has bothered me, and the first big cause of this, again, going back to the internet and then going back to the real life aspect of the internet, is self-diagnosis of mental health disorders. You rolled your eyes, and how
No,
people
no, no. I'm agreeing with you. Like, I'm
people
rolling my eyes because you hear it all the time. Like, I think I'm ADD or I think I'm OCD, and it's like, get a fucking proper diagnosis and then say that.
then they'll use that, whatever they're, especially if it's whether it's mild or extreme, they'll use that as like big personality traits. Like, no, Don't do that's not good. And I'm not saying like be ashamed of what you have. It's just not for everyone to know. That's not an opening. That's not an opening statement to people. And like I've been to doctors, I've been diagnosed, and I can't afford now. But based off what I had when I was a kid and a teenager, I'm going to go with 20 plus years ago. Hey, you have depression. You have these potential mental health problems in the future. Like, okay, I'll keep mind of it. And thankfully I did to some extent. But the self-diagnosis, it's like watching the commercials for every drug in every advertisement on Hulu. Are you sleepy? Is work hard? If you're thirsty, do you need water? When you poop, does stuff come out of your butt? It's like, yes, that's me. I need these meds.
It's like an astrological chart. Like you're gonna have friction with people in your life today. That's me. That's me.
Like a bag of dicks. Like it's and they fall into that stuff so often. It's just like why? Like I'm not the most observant of myself when I'm falling down. I'm just not. I have other people I need to give a shit about before myself. If my wife is real depressed, I want to make sure she's taken care of before me. If the cats are sick, I want to make sure they get to the vet before like I go see a doctor. And in retrospect, doing that most of my life has probably been not the best thing. It's taught me a lot of self-reliance, right, wrong, or indifferent. But it's also shown that like, hey, you can endure things. You can endure things while other people who may not be able to, whether you think they can or they think they can, you can endure things to get people out the other end. And because you got them out the other end, they're going to say, hey, I think you need some help. And you'll go, you know what? You're probably right. And that's different than like just going on like my mental health problems are the big part of me as a person. And I'm going to let everyone know and then burden them with my shitty actions. And then I'm going to be like, well, I'm bipolar because I took this BuzzFeed quiz. So that excuses my behavior. Fucking suck a dick. I'm so fucking sick of those people.
Right.
There are too many people that need actual help that are not getting it. And the people that do have mild to low levels are being hyped up by the constant stream of media, the constant need for medication, which they may need, just not that much, where they just need like, I don't like saying hobbies, but they need activity and an outlet, support systems that aren't focused on just that one aspect of their life, but enriching all of their life, every part that they can. And because if you focus on one thing long enough, guess what? Everything else falls by the wayside.
Well, I'll tell you, it's interesting because I was actually thinking about this today. It's like I'm almost 40 and was living out in LA for 5 years, and LA is a very lonely city. But coming back here, I thought I was gonna have friends to hang out with and things to do, and they're like, oh, I gotta like take care of my kids, and so like everybody I knew like growing up they're on a different journey in their life. And so I'm like, well, I don't drink, I don't party or anything like that. I just don't. And everybody's like, where do you go? Where do you go like that? And, I'm like, do I go to church? I was like, if I go to church, that means I have to be good, And I don't want to be good,
No, it's, I was the last of my friends group to get married. I've also never had a divorce. A handful of my friends have. I have no children. And so even if there was a divorce, I don't have to worry about fucking up another human being's life because I'm not around. But figure out how to make it work with the mother. I don't have those things. I'm a very late bloomer in a lot of part of society's eyes. I've gotten shit for it for a long time. Like, why are you giving me shit about it? This isn't like I'm trying to find me. It's no, I want stability. And to get to stability is so much harder than it was 20 years ago, 30 years ago, hell, even 10 years ago. It's so much harder to be a stable person because you're just bombarded with everything that you are told that you have to be or listen to or adhere to. And a lot of it's nonsense, but because you're constantly hearing it, it starts burrowing its way into your head. And then all of a sudden, like, oh, I am a mess. Oh, I'm not a good person. oh, I'm not this. Oh, I don't have that. Oh, I'm a failure. And then all of a sudden your mental health makeup, your physical health makeup, everything changes because you're being told this dumb shit by people that are working advertisement and they don't care about you. They're just going to make their dollar. Why are you listening to ads to dictate who you are as a person? It's very weird.
Yeah, I mean, I like to take the mantra of the bad brains, and it's helped me immensely. Got to keep that PMA, you know, and like, have you ever read Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill?
I read it. Not all of it, but I read excerpts of it in college for some of my econ classes. It was just required reading. So yes, do I remember any of it? No,
Well,
no.
it's a fantastic book, and you know, to speak of the bad brains, HR would always recommend that book, and you know, I read that book, and it was like transformative to me, and you know, and I've been having bad, you know, some of my week has been kind of like I posted on social media. I said the theme of my week is left on red, and I'm just like, I can't catch a fucking break, man. Like, what the, why, why, you know? And like, a lot of this is from, you know, women who are like complaining about their relationship status. Like, oh, I just can't find a good man. It's like, hello. And then it's like, oh, not you, you know, this fucking Chad with tribal tattoos that's gonna like treat me like shit and probably cheat on me and fucking all that shit, you know? So like, it's been frustrating, you know. The negativity can definitely get to you sometimes, you know.
I when it comes to seeing that sort of shit, like this is where the word cringe is very, very much a big word in our current lexicon. When I see stuff like that, I don't find it cringy. I find it very sad. That, and not because like people aren't like responding to you. This isn't a like, let me help my bro out real quick. He's got a podcast. Suck his dick. It's not one of those. It's one of those. Like I feel sad for people because for whatever reason they don't have either the self awareness or the ability to remotely connect with another human being beyond the most superficial of levels. And as someone who used to write that shit out of depression and everything else, like in my 20s, I did it. I was very volatile. I was very fatalistic. And everything was like the be all end all for everything every day. Like, not only is that depressing, that is exhausting. And nobody wants to be around that. So once I
Yeah.
figured that, I just kind of went, I want to be real neutral. And then if I actually have something to say about something that happened, then I'll say it. But like bitching and waiting in line for McDoubles, come on.
First world problem, right?
Yeah, like really examine like what's going on in the world and then compare it to your shit. Like it's different if you get like passed over to a job that you like a promotion, a job you've been promised, and then someone new, younger swoops in and gets it, and they, you know, so it's if it's something like that, like I get it, you can be bitter because you worked really hard for something and just had it taken away. But like having to wait 7 extra minutes at Starbucks for a latte, go fuck yourself. Like,
that's a Karen problem, definitely.
I feel bad for anyone named Karen who's not like the under the current stereotype of a Karen. Like, I gotta change my fucking name. I feel so.
no, no one's gonna be named Karen for like 100 years.
No, Gertrude and Mildred are gonna be coming back real strong.
My grandmother's name was Dorothy. You don't meet too many Dorothys anymore, but that might be making a comeback, you know.
Yeah, I'm down for some Dorothys to come back. You know they can.
Mildred.
Mildred, Ethel.
Ethel. What's some other ones? Sylvia. Which one?
Annette.
Annette. Greta. No, well, we got one. She's pretty insufferable. But let's go down that rabbit hole as far as talking about the, you know, like the status of the world and, you know, kind of what's going on, and let's get dark and dirty here.
Right.
As far as the, you know, the state of the current world, what do you think? Do you think we're going to be living in a vastly different world maybe in 2024?
Like I hope a meteor hits the fucking Earth next week. Like I really, like I joke about like meteor 2020. Like I wasn't completely joking. Like I was kind of like, let's just let it happen. We need a cleanse. And that sounds so bad. Like it's like I've been listening to Nothing But Integrity is Humanity is the Devil on repeat for like years now.
It's a great album.
It's my number one hardcore record, by the way. It's my number one of all of them. But like I was outside switching out some laundry, and this thought came to me. The people who we were in high school are, for the most part, for most people, the same people they are now in their like 30s and 40s, except now they have some new responsibilities and some money. And if you look back at it, our parents are pretty much the same people they were when they graduated high school, as were their parents, as were their parents. So it's almost like we've all stopped, just been like, we like the idea of sloganeering and helping, but we're kind of shitty and selfish. And if you're always going out of your way to help people, people think you're trying to scam them. Like there's the idea of just being a good person is like a foreign concept. So where we are right now, there's so many problems fought over things that, and a lot of it in my eyes is very dumb. And it's unnecessary. And it's easier to like be divided amongst everyone over whatever issues you want to have divisions with than it is to go, oh, wow, we don't agree on pineapple on pizza, which, by the way, it fucking doesn't deserve to be on pizza unless.
Oh, you're so fucking wrong.
No, unless it rained.
All right.
Put in some paper towel and thrown on immediately afterwards. Don't give me that wet pineapple bullshit with my cheese and salt.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that. Yeah, no, you can't like have like a deluge of pineapple juice on the pizza. It'll just fuck it up.
That's how most of these places are. Anyways, I digress. Most people are, whatever division they have, they'd rather focus on that one facet versus going, hey, these are some big things that we can all agree on. Why are we not working towards those goals? Oh, because it's this little thing affects you in the most inconvenient of ways. Okay. So I guess we're now back at each other's throats. So that's what a lot of it is.
And did you notice too, even when you started into that, I was like, no, you're wrong. But then you continued on and you were like, no, you got to have, it's got to be like dry pineapple. And then I was like, oh yeah, that I can get behind, So we found some like common ground, even though I was really just busting your balls. Like, I don't give a shit what you want on pizza, like I don't care, like, and that's something that I think a lot of people don't understand is that I think in general, most people just want to live their lives free of obstruction and that they don't care. They don't care, And I mean, like, I hearken to Star Trek when people are like, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few or the one. And I'm like, but they flipped that and like, they were willing to, put one person and his welfare above, their own. And so like, to me, I mean, as a group, as a collective. And so to me, like that message is almost completely lost, and I think that, most people just want to do for themselves, and there's nothing wrong with that, like, I mean, I think we could be altruistic on a certain level, but nobody has to be altruistic, like obligated to do that. You understand what I'm saying?
I do. And like, here's the thing, like most people want to just do for themselves. Vast majority of people doing for themselves is not harming anyone else. And that's one of the things that when they try to make the message with a broad brush, like people only care about, yeah, you're right. I only care about me and mine. However, my care for me and mine is not to impede your way of life. And it's not to stop you from thriving. If I got to wait, 30 seconds while you scan some stuff at the self-checkout aisle, 30 seconds, I got to wait. Okay. And I know you've got, all those groceries, fine, 30 seconds. It's not a reason for me to like blow up your life. And it's a very dumb comparison, but that's what a lot of it is. It's little inconveniences that are paramount to fucking nothing. And people will take that as, whatever they're trying to do for their family or for themselves as to be so important that minor inconvenience is fucking up their entire day. And that doesn't make sense to me.
Well, and to harken back to early COVID days whenever
Uh,
people were like, you know, whenever people were like, you know, oh my God, I can't go to the clubs and I can't do this. I was like, what, you mean you're going to pay me to sit at home and watch movies and smoke pot and play fucking video games all day? Shit, I do that anyway. Bring it on, you know?
like, so here's the, all right. So here's where I get wild in conspiracy theories when it comes to COVID. I think so many companies laid off so many people with the idea of furlough. Now, for those of you that don't know what furlough means, this is not me being a dick, but black letter law for furlough has to do with paid shore leave for the military. And what corporate America did was co-opt that term. And what they did, they put their employees in a bad position to where they couldn't accept unemployment, even though they had no idea how long they were going to be out of a job. They weren't allowed to quit, or essentially be like a black mark on their record for a reference. They put them in such a bad spot that they're like, yeah, I guess I'm lucky I have a job to come back to, or currently have a job. Like, that demoralized American workers, myself included, from where I was working at the time, that I was just like, this is a breach of contract for me personally, because I was forced to do a job that and take lower pay and lose my bonuses, while the company continued to boast, oh yeah, we're going to crack 3 billion this year.
Yeah.
They got rid of all their temporary staff, like their like through like a temp service staff, but it was so widely accepted that it broke people. Like it broke me for a minute, and I had to build my shit back together to realize I'm above wallowing in this bullshit. I'll figure it out.
And
But
I think that you know, even across both sides of the political aisle, that left and right can agree upon that was completely just a gross overuse of power, and you know, the fact that people were capitalizing while other people were forced to sell their businesses and go on unemployment and shit like that. I think we can both agree that that was fucked up.
yeah, and the fact that like a lot of these and this is like, because when we talked the other day at the show at the Waffle House, like that specific instance, which is still ongoing. It has not, it's slowed down, but it's still happening. The idea that some of these companies that have profited so much, okay, so we're not talking like a 5% increase over the year. We're talking 15, 18, 21, 32, 46, 50% or more, depending on the company. And this is all available for you to look up. I don't have it in front of me, but you can see where they were in 18, 17, 18, 19, 20 into the first part of 2021. When you see these companies skyrocket in profit, like, okay, why aren't you paying your workers more? Why aren't you giving back to the community? You have the ability to do so. If you do stuff like that, you'll earn worker loyalty for one. You'll also get more good press by word of mouth, and that's, you can't buy that. The
Right.
goodwill that you'll get from the community or communities is unparalleled. It's better than a fucking bonus check. I promise you, when you have that kind of support from not constituent your area, that will build you into a better standing overall in the world. But nobody wants to do it because, back to the original thing, motherfuckers are selfish. Humanity is the devil.
Well, at the same time, and I can agree with you upon that. Like, I think if you treat your employees respectfully, and I think if you give them a fair wage that they can, you know, be able to exist on and whatnot, then that's great. However, and I'm not defending any of these corporations or whatever, they're under no obligation to do that. I think what really was unfortunate was that last year was such a unique situation that, you know, ordinarily I'd be like, well, just go get another job. You know, like, you don't like the way you're being treated. You are essentially, you again, even if you're not in entertainment or anything, you're marketing yourself. You're like, I am selling my labor to you for, you know, X amount of dollars or whatever. You want to pay me this much per hour, you want to pay me this salary per year, then let's do it. And so you're essentially negotiating. If you don't get what you want, then don't take the job, or go somewhere where your labor and your skills are valued, you know. But I mean, I can kind of sympathize in that, well, nobody was going to hire anybody last year, you know. No, I mean, there was such a it was such a shit show that that kind of dynamic didn't exist. And so, I mean, yes, if I had a business, I would make sure that my employees were taken care of as much as I could. Happy employees increases productivity. I get that. At the same time, as a business owner, if I have overhead and I have expenses and whatnot, well, hours might get cut, and that's another thing. Bargaining is like you give somebody more hours. That's what it is. It's not a higher wage. You give them more opportunity to work, and the work is essentially a proving ground for, okay, well, you did a good job, so you can get a raise soon. So I mean, that's kind of because I can see both perspectives.
It's funny about about getting a new job. I was looking at memes real hard today in preparation for this, and saw one where a job was posted. This is just a meme. It was like it's like a $35,000 a year job, and it's an entry level job, but you must have X amount of years of experience. And that's been the thing that it jogged some memories in me when I was younger. I would go to apply to job college, like we need more experience. I was like, how do I get experience? We got to get a job. But this is entry level.
Right.
Now it's rolling conversation. Like, so why experience for this entry level job to get more? How do I get experience? Like, you're not like, we got to find a job that'll do it. This is that job. Why are you?
I totally get it. That's like credit. Well, like you gotta have credit to get credit, and it's like, well, how the fuck does that work?
Yeah, it's people have been allowed to circumvent basic practices for hiring for so long, and it started way before just like that kind of job posting. It's been that way for years, and that's a whole nother conversation for another day. But if you're smart, you can pick up on the subtext. People, if you can't, well, I read a book. But it's when you're putting people in that loop and you make them desperate and make them take a lower paying job, like, it doesn't help. Or you'll get someone who has like capped out in their industry and they have that experience and they were making like $100,000 a year. Company goes under for whatever reason. They only have so much in like severance and savings, and then you're going to make them take a $35,000 a year job because they have the experience at an entry. You need to look at people as like more than just what they have on a resume, and a conversation can actually do that. Most people want to just have a very strict guideline on what qualifies someone for a position.
Pause for a second, Adam. My headphones shit out. Give me 1 second.
Fucking thing sucks!
A few moments later.
If a conversation can see more than you're just like where you are in your resume, you can tell the quality of someone's character if they, one, can maybe do the job or at least be given the shot to do the job. I think if you give people actual shots, they'll begin to grow and thrive versus just being thrown away ever so quickly. And when you put people in those loops of, I need experience, how to get a job, you got to get a job. Well, this is entry level, so this should be like, no, we should need more experience. You take people out of that. You actually give them those jobs. Those people all of a sudden become leaders, and people begin to thrive. They're not being forced to take jobs or positions that are, I don't want to say beneath them, but their skill set is so overqualified for, and they spin their wheels and they get depressed, and then they don't want to advance because they don't want to be put in that same situation again.
Right. That's true. Well, what are some things that you're looking forward to culturally, like albums, movies?
Okay. Movies. I'll start with movies. I want to see that new Ghostbusters movie, and I want to see. Stop it. And I want to see the new Spider-Man movie, and I want to see Dune. I think those are all going to be pretty big ones as far as
I'm looking
movies.
forward to Dune.
As far as albums, I just got the new Full of Hell in yesterday. I've played it twice. It's pummelingly amazing. That new Frontier record drops called Oxidized. It's probably the most overstimulating record in the best of ways that I've ever heard. I got a ton of vinyl coming in. There's a new comic book that just came out called Frontiersman. on Image, and then there's another one coming out called What's the Furthest Place from Here that I'm excited for. And like when it comes to music, we'd have to do a separate episode so I could just grab like a couple handfuls of records. And Turnstile is amazing live, so all you old people need to stop hating on it. That new record that's the record of the.
I listened to it, and maybe I need to listen to it again. I don't get the hype. It's not bad. I'm just like, I don't know.
I hated Turnstile up until Time and Space. Like I just like, this band's terrible. I don't like it. I don't get it. I don't like groovy hardcore. And then Time and Space came out, and I was like, okay, this is dope. And then Glow On came out. I was like, oh my god, this is the record of the summer. And I thought Fiddlehead had that, but I'll give them spring. They got spring. Turnstile gets summer. So,
do you want to give some shout outs to anybody or plugs for anything you got going on?
Sure. For local comedy, you can always check out upcoming events at the Radio Room or the Radio Room. I run the open mic every Wednesday. Check out Stonegrown Comedy for one of the longest running paid independent comedy shows in the upstate. I think we're a little over 7 years. We're getting ready for our sixth Toys for Tot show in December. We got a couple big shows before then. As far as podcasts go, I was on a podcast called I Did This Instead of Killing Myself, with a friend of mine, David Baker, does. So I want to get
that's a good podcast, folks.
Stonegrown Comedy. It's like it's my thing. That's one of the groups that we started for comedy shows here. Big shout out to Raja Academy of Martial Arts for helping me become a better person in a lot of ways. Big supporter of the martial arts. Shout out to cats, because they're just the greatest creatures ever created. Shout out to you for paying attention to this, and shout out to you for putting me on this. So,
dude,
that's good.
Thanks for coming, man. And hopefully we'll get to do this again sometime soon.
I would. And maybe next time, like a music episode, we can just talk about records, and then we can really argue with each other.
Oh yeah. That would be a good one. It's always nice to do these like intro kind of episodes, because then you can kind of like suss things out. And I mean, I've known you forever. By the way, like I've driven 19 hours to Minneapolis to go see hardcore bands with this guy, and then we did a stand-up comedy tour in a car, and then we slept in the car most of the tour. And so I got a lot of backstory with this guy, so we'll definitely be telling some stories in some future episodes. But Mr. Adam Schulte, live long and prosper, brother.
Thank you, sir.
Don't forget my sunglasses.
Mail me your shoot me your address. I didn't leave the house this week, so that's why I didn't send it yet. But send me your address, and I'll get it out in the mail to you.
You sure you don't need some Zoloft?
No, I just need these fucking medications to keep working. I'm almost at the other end of sinus infection cold. So,
all right, brother. Be good. Thanks, dude.
Thank you.